Our Secretary General, Kotu, Dr. Francis Atwoli. Zijakula lunch. Waja nijaribu tena. Secretary General Kotu, Dr. Francis Atwoli, the management of Kenya Airports Authority led by Henry Ogoye. Of course, I've got my peers with me here. Bwana Alan Kilavuka and the entire team. Of course, your Secretary General, Mos Diema. Members of the media, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mbona sisikia upande ama lunch shida. I think it's a good opportunity to be here with you today, this afternoon, having midwifed a way forward that we have just signed, and which the Secretary General Kotu is going to read for us to appreciate what we've done together. The challenge we have faced over time in our airport from the early days when we wanted to do the Greenfield Airport in 2012-2013, and which has not materialized today, and which has become an embarrassment for our country, because we do all agree that we need a new airport, we need a new investment. When visitors arrive during the El Nino, you all appreciate how the whole place was leaking. The facilities that could boost our dimensioned visitors from 4 million to the kind of numbers that we see in other developing economies. Kenya being the anchor state, servicing through the port of Mombasa, the northern corridor servicing Uganda, DRC, Rwanda, Kigali, and the facilities need to be up to be able to stay competitive and remain the kind of anchor state we ought to be. We need the kind of airports we see in developed economies to be able to create the kind of opportunities by attracting more visitors into our country. The challenge we have had in not having to communicate, I think we've had the challenge of communication as a government. And today and over the past few weeks, we have attempted to communicate. There was a bit of a lapse of communication in the way we've carried the public initiated, privately initiated investment by Adani in this airport, because we do appreciate that we have a PPP Act which allows private investors to seek opportunities to invest. And when this is done, we do negotiate on certain parameters. We negotiate on what you might have come to understand as what would be the return on equity we are going to allow them. We negotiate on the debt equity ratio, because ordinarily equity is expensive. And because equity is expensive, you don't want the debt equity ratio to be significantly, or the equity to be significantly high. So at a debt equity ratio of 30-70, 30 being equity and 70 being debt. You know, when you borrow foreign currency or foreign denominated loans, you can borrow at 8-9%, maybe today up to 10%. But for equity, you can get it up to 18%, 16%, maybe 15%. So when you do a debt equity ratio of 30-70, we do appreciate that the equity part will be slightly expensive. But the beautiful thing is that we price down percentage of equity, so that whereas equity is expensive, it is only 30%. So these are some of the disclosures. These are some of the disclosures we have not carried us along to understand what exactly we are doing. Then next time we'll have a loudspeaker so that we can communicate well. So with the disclosure that we need to make, what kind of timelines are we looking at so that when the concession agreement is processed through the PPP Act, and there's a very articulate process, which will include coming to the board of KIA, it will include getting the legal opinion from the Attorney General, it will include going to Cabinet, it will include taking the concession agreement to Cabinet, and I want to assure you, Cabinet is here to protect the interests of our Kenyans. Unajua ni sawa, mtanisikiza na nitawasikiza pia, hakuna shida. I will listen to you and you listen to me. The Secretary General amesema tumekubaliana na kuna maandishi tumekubaliana. So let me allow the SG to basically read through what we have agreed, how we are going to work together and build consensus on way forward. And I don't see any points of divergence if we are talking to each other, if we are communicating. So we have agreed that we'll work with your Diema. If you are going to represent your members. Ama itakuwa namna gani? Yeah. So I think it is important that we have agreed, we have an agreement on a return to work formula, and I want to invite the Secretary General of KOTU to read to us what we have agreed today. What is very important and what I want to say from the government position is that we are also aware that we have been taken to court. This presents a good opportunity to present all the documents to court in a form of a public participation, because maneno ikienda kotini, all the documents will be put out there. And this is part of the communication that will help us as government to continue communicating, continue public participation, and ensure everybody does get what the government is seeking to do to basically employ the PPP framework to open our infrastructure in roads. I also represent roads, to open our infrastructure in airports, to open our infrastructure in schools for our students, and so on and so forth. So I want to thank you, Brother Atoli, for being with us this afternoon, for reaching that consensus agreement on a return to work formula. And let me now invite you, sijui kama Diema atasema kidogo, but you can manage the program from there. Asanteni sana. Thank you so much.